As an educator, I have learned one thing. Students don't really remember what we explain. They remember what they experience. And even a small, tiny classroom experiment plants the biggest life lesson. Now, as a teacher, I survive on two things: coffee and curiosity. Because without coffee, I would fall asleep. And without curiosity, my students would. One day, I was explaining photosynthesis. What I felt like 97th time. One student raised his hand and asked, "Sir, why should I care how plants make food when Swiggy delivers it?" Was it a funny question? Or it is a reminder that problem was not what I was teaching. The problem was how I was teaching. So I decided, let's try something new. What if we taught biology not from the textbook, but from the life itself? And today, with two of my wonderfully curious students, I am here to explain a small experiment that turns into much bigger. By the way, a lesson even Swiggy can't deliver.
Good morning everyone. Today we are going to talk about something deceptively small. It's something which fits in the palm of your hand, but it has the power to change how we think about learning, sustainability, and the future.
But let me make it clear, we are not farmers, entrepreneurs, nor are we scientists in lab coats.
We are the learners who refuse to stop at the textbook. Together, we started a project that began with a question.
Became an experiment.
And then turn to a movement.
And the story of student-led microgreen initiative Osgreen. With a packet of small seeds and a wild idea, let's grow microgreens.
So we were in grade 8 at the time. When sir told us about microgreens, most of us thought, what's that? Microscopic trees? Baby vegetables perhaps. Sir told us to research, and we found out that microgreens are actually young seedlings, harvested right after the first two leaves appear. Neither are they sprouts, but nor are they baby greens or mature vegetables as well. There's something beautifully in between. They're tiny, but dense in nutrients. They're a huge thing in the US, Japan, as well as Europe. But in India, well, not so much. India only occupies 4% of the global market cap when it comes to microgreens. To put this into perspective, this is 8.7 times less than what the US occupies. So we thought, why not us? Why don't we grow microgreens here at Ashoka?
Well, our first attempt, it was a complete disaster. We started in our school biolab using coconut coir as our medium. But within days, fungus grew everywhere. So we switched to coir pants dipped in antifungal solution. Can you guess which? Yes, it was betadine, the one with which you gargle your mouth. And these lights, they are another mystery, as partial darkness reduced bitterness, whereas LED lights boosted chlorophyll. So we packed it all together, with which watering was another problem, as too much water made the greens drowned, whereas too little made it shriveled. So we built a sensor using Arduino that beeped when the trees were too dry. Well, it didn't work, but it saved a lot of trees. And from all of this, we learned microgreens are small, but their needs are very precise. And in this precision, we found our purpose.
So at first, it only felt like a biology project. We were in grade 8, we were doing it kind of half-heartedly. But slowly, it became something else. Slowly, it became a blueprint for entrepreneurship. We started asking questions which weren't in our syllabus. Like, how many trays can we grow in a week? What's our cost per gram? What's the ideal selling price? We even designed our own logo, cut out our own packaging, and sold our first unit to the school canteen at 120 rupees. Well, the profit was meager, but that moment was about the sheer pride. When someone had paid for what we'd grown ourselves, it was like a switch flipped inside of us. Suddenly, we felt like we weren't students anymore. We felt like we were creators, innovators, and entrepreneurs.
And that was the time when our lab stopped being a lab. It became a launch pad. We started tracking customer feedbacks. Some said they were too bitter, while others said that they needed more crunch. So we adjusted harvest timings, light exposure, water, and taste balance. Well, we learned that entrepreneurship isn't about money, it is about ownership of your ideas, your process, your results, and even your failures. Well, it gave us a kind of learning which no textbook can give, the real world kind and the kind that is unpredictable.
So now I want you to zoom out for a bit. Why should cities, why should consumers like yourselves care about microgreens? So with this, let's glance over the benefits. First of all, with their small growth cycle, very small growth cycle, they're fast, they're efficient, and they're sustainable. They use 90 to 95% less water than ordinary crops. The other great thing about them is that they do not require any soil, they do not require any pesticides, which makes them organic by default, and they do not require any waiting for seasons. Microgreens have a high yield per unit area, which, when combined with their short growth cycle, this means that you can grow a lot of them in small spaces absolutely anywhere. Rooftops, balconies, office corners, you name it. I want you to imagine a city where food does not travel miles to reach your plate. It grows right where you live. Microgreens aren't just a food trend. They're a glimpse into the future. A future of sustainability, food security, and self-reliance. And to top it all off, let's just glance over the nutritional values. Microgreens on average contain 30 to up to 500% more amount of nutrients as compared to their mature counterparts. Let's take some examples. Red cabbage has 6 times the vitamin C compared to normal cabbage. Broccoli microgreens, you ask? They're rich in sulforaphane, which is good for your heart as well as your brain. Sunflower microgreens, we can talk about proteins, vitamin E, antioxidants, all of this packed into these small greens.
And this was just the beginning. You imagine this, every school turning its biolab into vertical farms, every hospital growing greens for their patient meals, and every apartment rooftop growing greens for their residents. Microgreens are like green pixels. Tiny dots, when combined, can color an entire city. That's the future we dream of, where learning, sustainability, and entrepreneurship grow from the same seed.
What started as a biology activity became a mirror, reflecting what education could truly be. When they debated, they learned collaboration. When they failed, they learned resilience. When they try selling these microgreens, they learn confidence. Grades can't measure wonders. Exams can't measure ownership. We often ask our students, think outside the box. Perhaps they just need to plant one.
For me personally, this project redefined growth. I always used to think growth is only about getting taller or maybe scoring higher. But it's not just about that. Growth is about breaking open in the dark, like a seed, and finding the courage, the perseverance, the resilience to grow again. Microgreens taught us that all great things do not start noisily. They start in the quiet, with nurturing. And this does not only apply to microgreens. Microgreens are only a small part. This applies to all those things that contribute to a better, safe, and more sustainable future.
From all of this, we learn that science and empathy aren't opposites, they are the just same thing. Sustainability isn't a chapter, it's actually a mindset that is to be understood. And entrepreneurship isn't taught, it is to be caught through experiences. And when you nurture something living, even a tray of seedlings, you start nurturing something invisible patience, hope, and responsibility.
And that is the true beauty of education, isn't it? It is not about what you know, it is about what you grow. Far too long, we have asked our children, what you want to be when you grow up? Maybe it is a time to ask what you want to grow into. Because marks and medals can't measure real growth. The real growth is measured in curiosity that questions, in a courage that experiments, and a creativity that refuses to quit. Microgreen didn't just grow in tray, they grew inside us. They grew into confidence, purpose, and endless possibilities. And here is the best part. A small tiny classroom experiment, which is started by these two students, now it is going to turn into an enterprise. A small classroom experiment has become a real world idea. A lesson has become a livelihood. And that, to me, is a seed of true education, where knowledge takes root from the life itself. If tiny microgreens can teach us this lesson, imagine. Imagine a community of learners, mentors, and creators. We can grow together. Because as a mentor, I have realized something profound. That education is not is not a ladder to climb. It is a garden to nurture, where every learner is a seed, unique in a pace, promise, and a potential, just waiting for the right light, the right soil, the right watering, and the right moment to bloom. Thank you so much.